All right, folks, take two on this video. I actually recorded it last night, but I recorded it in vertical and then realized that vertical doesn't do so well with YouTube. So here we go again. It's been forever. I'm not going to make excuses. Whatever. We're building a house. That's the biggest excuse. So here's the front end of our house. We're supposed to be closing in the next 30 days. So obviously there's going to be some more slowdowns to the building process. But the last time that I left you guys, we were talking about gap seals. As you guys can see, the gap seals are finished. They're riveted on. In the last video, I had talked about the fact that you could squeeze all the rivets, but unfortunately there were a couple that you could not squeeze. It was maybe 4 to 6 per wing, and the gap seal's done on this wing as well. So, and flaps are back installed. Everything's hunky-dory there. With the gap seals on, and I don't know if you guys can hear it in the video, but there is a little bit of rubbing, and all that rubbing is way down there at the very end. I've done some reading and talked to some friends, and they said basically if it doesn't work itself out by the time you get ready to install the wings, that just simply to bend the top skin up just a smidge, and that'll take care of that. But more importantly, fuel tanks. We have fuel tanks. These take quite a bit of time, and they're still a work in progress as we speak. However, we have fuel tanks. So both of them. And I'm doing everything in this airplane I'm doing side by side as much as I can. And I just dropped my camera there for a second. So anyway, fuel tanks, work in progress. Tim came over. He's building an RV-10 as well. And Tim helped me with this tank over here. This was the one that he helped me with. And he helped me install the ribs that you see here, as well as the stiffeners that you see here. And then Russ came over and he helped me do this fuel tank. So these ribs, these stiffeners. And then he came over a second time, and I put him to work doing, I call it doing the globbing, which is putting the Pro Seal on the heads of the rivets. It doesn't look pretty, but it'll work. It'll keep the fuel from leaking out. So, and then he also helped me. We installed the stiffener on the top skin here and tightened it down, plus a couple of other minor projects. For the most part, I can do most of the rest of it, I guess, by myself. It's pretty simple because the stiffener is towards the top, so riveting this is going to be fairly easy by myself. Not a big deal. If he comes over, great. We'll blast through that together. And we could probably do both of them in less than an hour. But we got to do what's called wet riveting, because the Pro Seal's already dried on here, so I'll have to spin a drill through all of these holes because you won't get a rivet through here now. So what I'll have to do is with hand, take a drill bit and stick it in there and pull the Pro Seal out. Then you have to take the rivet, stick the rivet in wet Pro Seal and stick it into the hole and then rivet it into place. And then do the globs on the back side. So it'll take a little bit longer than standard riveting to do all that. But the good news is you can stick all the rivets in and then go back and they won't fall out while you're riveting. Okay, so as you can see, obviously the fuel will leak out right now because there's no end rib here, because the end rib has all kinds of special stuff. There's the spar, and this isn't riveted in either. And then there's the nose rib down here, which I need to put the seals in there on those two holes. Those are the holes that they use to form the pieces, and those need to be sealed up. So I need to take care of that. This needs to get riveted into place, Pro Sealed into place. And then this piece here goes in kind of like so, and it needs to be riveted and Pro Sealed into place. But additionally, this has a couple of extra holes. This hole here is where the fuel level sender, so how much gas do you have, goes through here. The vent line, the fuel flow line, and then another hole needs to be cut into here for the return line for the fuel that's coming back from the engine back to the tank that's not used. So we've got to get that installed. Additionally, a couple of the other changes that I've made from the standard fuel caps, we'll talk about those in a second because those are a big deal for me. This here, I plumbed in while I was building the ability to have a aux tank in the future. So if there's a company out there who sells these aux tanks, which basically just slide right through the lightning holes on the front of the airplane. I don't have that built yet, so I can't show you directly, but it slides through with these lightning holes. And then it would be able to attach to here And then I went ahead and attached a line which runs from here down into the second bay. And I need to build a little piece of aluminum here just to bridge, to hold it onto here so it's not flopping around, because that would vibrate and cause all kinds of problems later on. The way we did this is I just used I think this is an AN 832-4N. It's a -4, I know that much. I'm pretty sure it's a 832. And there, it's called a bulkhead fitting. And so it goes through the bulkhead, and then I use what's called an anti-rotation plate, which that's an anti-rotation plate there. And then you rivet this to the skin itself, or to the side here, like so. And then you stick the built-in or the welded-in nut through the hole, and then that shape prevents it from rotating. So that way, if I'm cranking on this with a wrench or something like that later on, that way I don't have to worry about it not breaking free inside or something like that. In addition to that, it's all been pro-sealed inside of here, and as you can see, there's the pro-seal job, so it's not going anywhere. If it does, I'd be really surprised. And then on the outside here, the nut, and then we use something called a threading, make a gasket or thread compound or something like that. It basically forms a gasket around the thread to prevent any fuel from leaking out that's fuel proof. And then I'll install a cap on this so no fuel will leak out. And when I do the water testing, we'll be testing out all of that fitting as well to make sure that it's good. So, more importantly, fuel caps. This is a fairly significant modification that I made. The standard Vans kit comes with a fuel cap that mounts underneath the skin, and so you end up with the skin, and then you have like a very slight recess of a couple of thousandths, and then there's the fuel cap underneath it. And I didn't really like that design, and I think that this design looks a little classier to me. I mean, I don't know, could be wrong, and for all I know, I've just really messed up the airflow across the wing and I'm going to crash. I doubt it, but somebody probably will tell me that somewhere along the way. But mounting these on the outside actually takes quite a bit of work. I had to put these in my press to bend the flanges just a little bit, because you probably can't tell it from the video, but there is a slight curvature to the skin. And you can maybe see it here, where the difference here versus up here and down here, and this is my first one I did, so this one isn't quite as good. The other one, I'll show you down here, I did a little bit better of a job on bending these. And hopefully the light works out for you there. It's actually nice enough that I can have the garage doors open today. But anyhow, I had to bend these down just a little bit and then put them in my vise to bend the lips down even a little bit further. These are not the final screws. These are just temporary screws that I stuck in here to hold it into place while I drilled out the rest of the holes. And for my edification, these are number 10 drilled holes that I've used for, and those are number 10 screws that are inside of there. But they're metric screws, because these are made from a company called Newton. They're based out of the UK, and these things look great. I got the locking fuel caps so that way I can lock them, and they're beautiful works of art. And the reason that I want them to be locked is so I make sure the right type of fuel gets installed into my fuel tank, but more importantly, so that way I make sure that stuff does not get put into my fuel tanks that I do not desire. And part of the process of me getting these fuel caps, and they took about 2 months for me to receive them. And part of the reason why they took so long to receive was because I also received, these are my door locks and my cabin door locks, and I went ahead and got them all at the same time. They're all the exact same key. So all my fuel caps, all my door locks, they all use the same key. So God help me if I lose the key. And if any of Jackie's family is watching this, don't worry, I'm not giving her the keys because she loses all the keys. Anyway, so like I said, we're going to be closing on the new house here in about a month, and which is going to require quite a bit of my time. I'm going to be packing up. This shop needs to get packed up pretty soon as well. And as you guys can see, there is a lot in this shop that needs to get packed up. And that's not including the stuff that's like the normal dad stuff that you have to have when you live someplace, yard tools and all that other stuff, that all that needs to get packed up too. Not to mention the whole house. So, My goal is within the next 2 weeks to have water in these fuel tanks and have them testing for leaks. Once I start that, obviously they need to sit for about a week, and during that period of time, then I'm going to try to do as much packing as I can. I originally had wanted to get the ailerons done before we moved. Well, originally I wanted to have the whole wings done, but that's not going to happen. And then I wanted to have the ailerons done. I don't think that's going to happen either. I don't even think I'm going to start them. I might. Well, if I have time, I will. But I suspect that the fuel tanks is going to be it, and get the fuel tanks bolted on, and that'll be the extent of what I get done before we move. So, wish me luck, and I'll try to keep you guys a little bit better updated. Bye-bye.